Thank you for watching KBC. Tonight we are hosting the Cabinet Secretary for Labour and Social Protection, the Honourable Florence Bore, who joins us on set. There's so much to speak about, particularly the mandates of her ministry and what the government is doing to cure the unemployment problem in the Republic of Kenya. Thank you very much, Waziri, for joining us, and karibu sana.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, probably to start us off, before we even have some graphics of what your ministry is doing, you can probably begin by defining the mandate of the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection.
Thank you, John, and thank you for having me at the studio. Let me say, as a Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, our mandate, really, the core, is to ensure that we address all the issues of labour with the workers, with the employers, and as government, ours is to provide an environment where the workers and the employers are able to talk to each other and be able to agree on issues related to labour. The other mandate that we do as labour is that we are focusing on labour migration. And labour migration in this country has been a business that has been done mostly by the private sector, by the recruitment agencies. But as government, we are here to ensure that we streamline labour migration, to ensure that we have safe and orderly migration. And thirdly, of course, as a ministry, we also want to focus on the culture of savings, and we are ensuring that NSSF is able to save for the future and also to ensure that we have proper investments to be able to invest on behalf of the workers of this country. And of course, as a ministry, we do other things like social protection. We have the issues of children. We have the issues of Inua Jamii, where we are contributing to the welfare of Kenyans who are vulnerable and who are on the bottom of the pyramid by providing them the stipend that we give them on a monthly basis, especially for the elderly, for the persons with disability, and also for the children who are orphaned, who have been left out by their parents. We also look at the issues of children in social protection. And we have the Children's Act of 2022 that we are trying to implement to ensure that the children are protected.
Clearly, your mandate is as huge as it can be. Probably before we even talk about employment, let's run some quick facts on our board, just so people understand what kind of work you've been doing, and the figures you see there are about labour migration, what it does to Kenya. It's a source of employment, it's an avenue for technology and skills transfer in the Republic. It's a source of foreign remittance, and you can see the kind of money we are talking about. We are talking about 595.51 billion Kenya shillings in terms of foreign remittances, and that is in just 11 months. The bilateral agreements signed by Kenya, there are about 4 and 19 under various forms of finalization. And you can see the kind of countries we are dealing with in terms of the labour that we are supposed to export. There are about 2,500 opportunities for nurses that have been secured in the year 2023, and that is in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And that is what generally, we'll talk about Inua Jamii later, but that's just about what Minister Florence Bore has been doing since, of course, becoming the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Ministry of Labour and Social Protection. Waziri, let's talk about the steps taken by your ministry geared towards addressing the problem of unemployment in the Republic.
Thank you, John. Our main focus has been ensuring that we have our unemployed absorbed in the various sectors. First, we would want to absorb them in the sectors within the country, and that is why we have the housing projects all over Kenya that are being done by His Excellency the President, by this government, to ensure that we have in every county so that we can absorb this unemployed within the sector. We also have the unemployed that can be absorbed by the digital jobs, the jobs that they can get from the internet. They can have the jobs on the internet within Kenya and be able to earn a living through that. Then we have, of course, the sector that we are doing as a ministry, where we are ensuring that we get youths that can go out of the country in various countries and be able to get jobs. And currently we have about 5 million unemployed youth that are out there. And I want to say government has tried its best by trying to absorb the teachers, by trying to absorb the nurses, by trying to absorb nurses, teachers, and other even the police, you know, those are all addressing the issues of unemployment. And we may not be able to take all of them within Kenya, and that is why we are looking for opportunities in the rest of the world. And the other benefit that we have of jobs outside Kenya is that we are able to generate very high incomes. From the figures that you have seen, we have half a billion, and we can go up to 1 trillion in remittances just because of the earnings that we get through labor migration. And that is why our government is focusing on that, to ensure that we get these earnings, that is foreign exchange, and we'll have solved the problem of unemployment. And currently we have the highest earnings from these remittances through labor migration. We have overtaken the remittances from coffee, from tea, from tourism. So we are focusing on labor migration. What we need to do is to ensure that we have skills matches. We identify the demands of the market out there in terms of skills, and we ensure we also produce for that market. For instance, the nurses that are required in Saudi, the nurses that are required in the UK, there's a special exam that they do before they go for those foreign jobs. And we are even requesting those countries to open up facilities that will ensure that our candidates for the job market outside there qualify. We have, for instance, the Center for Medical Checks that is being done here in Nairobi, that was set up last week and was set up by His Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary. He was able to open that center for medical checks that initially Kenyans were going to South Africa for the testing to be able to access the job markets in the UK and other countries. So we are doing what we can just to ensure that we provide what is needed by these candidates for the that will go as migrant workers to other countries. Yes.
How are you addressing the skepticism that comes out of their opportunities in Saudi Arabia?
I would want to say Kenya should not be scared anymore about the job opportunities that are in Saudi Arabia. One of the things that I will say, John, is that since I came to office, we have tried to streamline. We have tried to improve our relations with these countries because we know our Kenyans are going to those countries, and therefore relations is of importance. We have to have good relations so that our people are treated well. And the first thing that we did was to visit the country of Saudi Arabia. Why? Because most of our migrant workers were going to Saudi. Most of the cries were coming from Saudi. So we did the visit, and I was the first Minister for Labor to visit Saudi Arabia. And when I did, we had interactions with the Minister of Labor from that country. His Excellency, the President, has been able to go to Saudi Arabia almost twice last year. And it was just to be able to improve our relations with that country and be able to know what exactly is it that our workers are facing in those countries. And one of the issues was that most of our workers were going without training. Most of our workers were being taken without certification. Most of our workers were going without documents. They go on a tourist visa. So after 3 months when they are there, they don't qualify to be in Saudi. So that is why they were having several issues. And then they were not being taught about the culture of the Muslims or the Arabians that are living in Saudi. So, but with time, when you train them, when you vet also the agencies that do the processing of these migrant workers, some of those issues have been solved. And the other benefit that we also have now that was not there before is that we have the State Department of Diaspora. The State Department of Diaspora is able to address issues of migrant workers that go through distress.
Your directives after coming to office was the calling for regulation, and you issued particular directives regarding the regulation of employment bureaus, really. Would you say that you've been able to successfully streamline that area?
We have gone up to some point. We may not have addressed all the issues, but what I want to say is that we have been able to strengthen that space where the recruitment agencies are in. One, we've been able to regulate, we've been able to register, we've been able to vet and revet, just to ensure that the recruitment agencies that we have are genuine and that we don't have any rogue agencies that are able to transport anybody or even be found to be doing vices like trafficking. So that vetting has been able to help us. And going forward, we are still going to ensure that we vet them, we renew their licenses, and we only have agencies that are doing the right thing. The right thing in the sense that they get the right migrant worker for the right job and ensure that they have contracts that are able to allow them to survive for that period when they are within those countries. Yes.
We're still on the subject of labor migration. At the point where Kenya gets independence, there was a call for Kenyans to return back home and build their own country. Now, those who would want to know, Waziri, the fact that we are exporting labor, is it an admission that government is unable to create jobs locally?
Not really. I would want to say that was then, that people were being brought back. But now, with the increase in the number of people in Kenya, we now are in a global society. You can work anywhere. And because we want to get opportunities for Kenyans outside there, there's no harm in sending them to those countries. In any case, we are not depleting the number of workers in Kenya. We already have enough. And if there is a job, I mean, this is an open market for everyone. If you look at countries like Philippines, they send their people to various countries of the world. So why can't we do for Kenyans? Yeah?
There is over 19 countries lining up to tap from Kenya's human resource. That is the Kenya human resource. Question is, what makes our human resource tick? What makes us stand out?
We are hardworking. We speak good English.
Oh, the English also.
Our English is very good. Our English is very good. And we are all round. Yeah? I would tell you, if a Kenyan is given whatever work that is out there, what another person will do, a Kenyan can be able to do 5 times. We are very good. We have good ethics. Yeah? We are disciplined. Yeah? And we are hardworking. Yes. So, a Kenyan, even out there, I would vote for a Kenyan anytime.
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 Right.
Anytime. We are very good.
All right.
Except for a few cases.
Between your ministry and probably union officials, that is trade workers, union officials, in terms of collaboration, not just for the implementation of the ILO ratifications, but even policies that probably emanate from your ministry.
We are doing well. And in anything that we do as a ministry, it is tripartite. We have good relations with the workers and also the employers. And as government, we always come together and agree. And if you have seen, we have good relations with COTU, with FKE, and in most cases, you'll always find us together, just because we want to have a good environment for working for all of us. We are also trying as a ministry to ensure that we review the labor laws. The labor laws that we use are those of 16 years ago. So they've not been aligned to the new Constitution 2010. So we are working on the review, and the National Labour Board that His Excellency the President asked that it be put in place during the Labour Day of last year. We are on progress, the board is on, and they are trying to work on the review of the labor laws. And we are going to work with Parliament just to ensure that we have the right laws. Yes.
Getting into your social protection mandate, and I want my director to run some of those graphics from Inua Jamii. Let's just see how the ministry is faring in terms of there you have the figures. We have about 1,233,129 beneficiaries, of course, spread across the 47 counties of the Republic, and government targets to increase the beneficiaries to 2.5 million. And you will remember there's a presidential directive from President William Ruto. The cabinet approved the registration of 500,000 that is in the financial year 2023-2024. Payments are now being made through M-Pesa, of course piloted for orphans and severely disabled people, and that is how Inua Jamii is faring. Waziri, probably to bring it back to studio, the effectiveness of the Inua Jamii program, because I'm sure you've seen success stories out of the Inua Jamii program. What is the effectiveness of this program?
We are doing very well, very effective. Our target, as you have said, is 1.2 million and some figures above there. The payments are going on well. When we came into office, first there were arrears that had not been paid for about 8 months. That has been cleared. Number two, we have removed completely the delays that used to happen during the payments. And His Excellency the President gave us a directive that we ensure that this 1.2 million who are vulnerable, who are at the bottom of the pyramid, should be paid before all of us. And that has been happening ever since July when the directive was given. So we've been able to pay them, and the payments have been on time and they've been getting. We were only trying to streamline to ensure that the ones who go far distances to be able to get this stipend do not go to those distances again. And that is why we decided we start paying them by M-Pesa. Of course, it is on pilot, as we have said, and we are starting with the vulnerable children and the persons with disability. The other thing that we have done very well on Inua Jamii is the fact that we have improved the numbers. We were doing 1.2, we have added a new registration of 500,000. Those are the ones we are going to get in March. And we'll be able to do the new registrations every year. So that is a plus for this government for what it has done on Inua Jamii program.
When it comes to the
other thing that we are also trying to do on that space is to be able to put up policies and a bill called the Social Protection Bill 2024, and we are also doing the policy on social protection, just to ensure that we get enough funding to be able to increase the numbers of those we are going to pay, and maybe possibly with time we're also going to improve on the amount of stipend that we give out. Remember, we only give 2,000 per person. It may not do much, maybe in some few years. So going forward, we would want to increase the numbers of those we support, plus the amounts that we give to these beneficiaries. Yes.
Previously, I think the scheme has been riddled with allegations of people who do not deserve probably to be there because they're not vulnerable in one way or another, or even aspects of corruption. Have you been able to vet the list of these people that we're calling vulnerable and disbursing this money through the Inua Jamii program to ensure that it is above board and the people receiving this money really deserve to receive the money?
Yes, the people who receive this money deserve. And they deserve because we send our officers to the ground, to the villages, to the sub-counties, and they are vetted by their chiefs. We have the GAO system, the national government system, to be able to help our officers in registering these people. And I wouldn't think there is any corruption that happens there in terms of payments to these beneficiaries. Why? The beneficiaries, once they have been identified and they have been listed into our program, what happens is that the money comes from the bank straight to the beneficiary. It doesn't come to the ministry. We hardly touch that money. That money goes direct to the beneficiaries. The only gap that maybe was there is that when we lose a beneficiary, we may not be able to tell, but we will tell when they don't pick their money from the bank. So what the bank does is that they refund whatever has not been picked by a beneficiary. That was the only time we would tell that that money has not been absorbed by anyone, and it would come back to the ministry through the bank as money that has not been received by anyone. And we usually get a refund of about 2 billion that has not been taken by beneficiaries. And we were able to clean the system. And when we cleaned the system, we were able to get about 190,000 vacancies, because the cleanup had not been done for a long time. So on top of the 500 new registrations, we had a top-up of the new vacancies that was obtained from the cleanup of about 190 to 200,000. Yes.
This 2 billion that returns to the ministry, is it because what happens so that this money is not disbursed, it has to come back to the accounts of the ministry?
You see, this money has been sent through the bank to the beneficiary. The beneficiary, God forbid, the beneficiary may be passed on. So nobody comes to the bank to pick the money. So what the bank does is to refund back the money because nobody picked the money. So over time, that money accumulates. And when it accumulates, they just refund it and say it is uncollected money. Yes.
Quite an interesting one. At his inauguration, and consistently so, the president has spoken about reforms in the NSSF. And it's one of the things you alluded to in the beginning of this program. So when it comes to the NSSF reforms, how are we doing? How are we faring?
The NSSF reforms, we are doing well. We were able to act on the new rates, and the new rates are looking good. We are getting the good contributions from the contributors, and of course from the 1.4 billion that we're getting monthly, we are now getting about 6B, which is good indication that we are able to have savings for the retirees that will retire in the years to come. The other reforms that we have also done is to ensure that beneficiaries are able to get their benefits within a short period of time. Initially, they would go for about 3 months, but now within 10 days, the beneficiaries are paid their money.
Recently, there was a directive you gave out about shutting down children's home because of bringing children up in accordance with what the Children's Act says. For those who may think it is punitive or government doesn't really care, what did you espouse to do with that directive?
That directive was about the care reforms on children. And these reforms actually tries to remove the fact that we have children in institutions. And bringing up children in institutions may not be the right way. So we would want to have these children in a family setup. The family setup, we would want to encourage families to have these children within their homes. These children are abandoned, they are taken to children's homes. We would want to return them to their families. And if you were to find or follow the background of that child, you'll discover they have families, they have relatives, so we would want them taken into those family setups. Apart from that, we would also encourage adoption. There are families in this country that are able to afford to adopt some of these children and be able to take care of them within their family setups. So what we are saying, according to the Children's Act, is that these children's homes should wind up in the next 10 years. The 10 years we were given, 2 years have elapsed. So we are remaining with 8 years to go. So we are not being punitive to these children by saying we have to close them today. We are giving them a period of time. Meanwhile, we are also trying to ensure that the child welfare centers that we have, those are institutions for government, are able to absorb the children that will not be absorbed by anyone. That any family may not be able to take. Maybe we'll have a remainder of children that will not have been taken up into family setups. So we can have them in these government institutions, the child welfare centers, where we can take care of them, but in the long run, we will also ensure that they are absorbed by their families.
A child has been adopted. How does the government monitor the welfare of that child?
We have children officers in every sub-county. And we also have social workers within our children's child welfare centers. And we are saying the adoption that has to be done should only be done by a Kenyan. We cannot allow adoption of these children outside Kenya. So they will be within our society.
As we close, Waziri, many people have interacted with Waziri Bore as a politician. How was the switch for you from a politician and now a minister? How was the switch for you?
I'm humble. I thank God. I thank His Excellency the President for giving me the opportunity to serve in this government and for believing in me. I can tell you, His Excellency the President has been our mentor right from when we were in Parliament. He would give us that space and believed in us as women. And I want to appreciate him for the opportunity that he gave us. And, you know, giving us the push, giving us the direction of what to do. You know, he's also a teacher, very good in telling you what to do. And I've learned a lot in that space around His Excellency the President. I've also learned a lot having been in Parliament, having worked. Yeah. And I'm a good listener. I watch. When I was in Parliament, I would look at my colleagues like in Adwale, you know, see how they are working. Look at my seniors, the ladies, Honorable Alice, Honorable the governors, Governor Wanga, Governor Susan, Governor Sess. You know, we had mentors all around us. And having been a teacher for 23 years, it's been a learning experience all through.
Your promise to Kenyans in the next 1 year, as the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, what is that promise that you have for Kenyans on that camera as we wind up?
My main focus are 3 in that ministry. 1 is to ensure that we solve the issue of unemployment in this country. For me, it gives me sleepless nights when I know many Kenyans don't have jobs and they need jobs within Kenya and outside Kenya. And I'm focused to ensure that we help the President to solve that issue of unemployment. 2 is the one of the Inua Jamii. For Inua Jamii, we want to increase the numbers, we want to increase the funding, and we are going to ensure that we do that 100%, so that we have the vulnerable supported in this country, so that we don't leave anyone behind. And lastly, we want to build a culture of savings for Kenyans. As we save with NSSF, we also want to go to the informal sector and ensure that even the ones in the informal sector, the ones that are doing businesses, the SMEs, they ensure that they save. And even for you, John, save for the future.
Absolutely. The Cabinet Secretary for Labour and Social Protection, the Honourable Florence Bore, her promise to you, jobs, effectiveness of Inua Jamii, and most importantly, ensure that you save. Thank you very much, Waziri. We wish you all the best, of course, as you dispense your duties. That is where we put a cap on Prime Edition. Have yourself a good night.
Thank you, John.
Asante.